ongoing thing.
Hey, what's going on everybody? Today we're going to be doing a tutorial on how to install Motion Eye onto our Raspberry Pi. So you can use it with a web camera, and you can use it as a security camera for your house, your work, the garage, whatever. First, some things you're going to need. You're going to need a Raspberry Pi, obviously. You're going to need your webcam or a Raspberry Pi camera. You're going to need an Ethernet cable so you can connect your Raspberry Pi to your router. You're going to need an SD card, possibly an SD card adapter. If you want wireless capabilities, you're going to want a USB Wi-Fi adapter for your Raspberry Pi. And obviously you're going to also need a power adapter for the Raspberry Pi. To begin with, we're going to want to download the disk image for the Raspberry Pi. I'm going to include all of these links in the description, so if you want to scroll down, you can click on those. Let's see. So this is where we're going to go for the disk images. Depending on the model of Raspberry Pi, that's what's going to decide which one of these you choose. Me, I have a Raspberry Pi 2, so this is the disk image that I'll be downloading. That's a really small file, so it shouldn't take very long to download at all. Okay, that's been downloaded. Now we're going to move over to Terminal. First thing we're going to want to do is navigate over to the downloads directory. By the way, I'm using elementaryOS. A lot of Linux distros are going to be the same, so if you run into any instances where something's not working, a command's not working, let me know in the comments. I'll get back to you and I'll tell you what you can do to get around it. For this, we're going to be using the commands ls and cd. CD is used to change the directory, ls is used to list whatever's in the working directory. So right now we can see the downloads folder is here in the root folder, and we're going to navigate over to it by using this command. I'm going to use ls again to see what's inside of the downloads folder. Now I've already extracted this disk image. Normally all you're going to see is this, and that's what you want to see. We're going to use this command, and you can use the tab key to automatically fill, so just like that. And what this is going to do is going to extract the disk image from this file, and as you can see, that's what we're left with. Now that we have that, we're going to write the disk image to the SD card. For this next step, there's a couple of different ways of doing it. This is something I would recommend just because it's easiest. We're going to run this command. That's not the number 1, that's the letter L. This is going to list all of your connected volumes. What I'm going to do now is insert the SD card into my computer. Okay, that's connected. We're going to run the exact same command, but we're going to run it over here. Basically, we're going to be looking for the difference between the two. We want to make sure that we're identifying the correct device. So in this case, I can see that this is the extra device. There's 3 partitions on it. What we're going to go ahead and do is format that SD card. Don't do this if you have any personal information on your SD card. It's recommended that you're using an empty SD card just so you don't lose any valuable files. To format it, we're going to use GParted, and this comes pre-installed with a lot of Linux distributions. If it's not included in yours, you can use something like this command. I already have it, so of course this is what I'm going to see. If you don't have it, you'll be asked if you want to continue with the download or if you want to cancel it. Once installed, you can then launch it best way for your operating system. Once you have GParted open, up here in the top right hand corner, if you click this, you'll see all of your connected devices. In this case, this is the one that we're going to be using. You'll see that this name corresponds with what we found here. So we know that we're on the right one. Looks like we have 28 gigabytes of unusable, unallocated space. What we're going to do is just delete everything. This should just take a quick second. Once that's completed, we're going to go ahead and it's going to search for all connected devices again, but once that's done, we're going to add a new partition. And we'll leave the formatting to the default file system. We'll run that. Perfect. Okay, and we don't really need GParted anymore. I'll go ahead and minimize it. Next, what we're going to want to do is I'll run fdisk one more time. And here's the device that we're going to be installing or writing the disk image to. First, we're going to want to make sure that this drive is not mounted. So to do that, we'll use this command. Okay, as we can see, it's not mounted. I got this right here, which is the partition that we're going to be writing the image to. And the command that we're going to use to write the disk image accidentally hit enter. Okay, here we're going to insert the name of the disk image. So if we start typing it in and we use the tab key, it'll fill the rest of it in for us. And then here we are going to insert the name of the device that we're going to be writing the image to. So I'll pull this up side by side. And that is going to be this. so we can see that that's been completed. I'll go ahead and refresh the devices in GParted, just so that way we can see exactly what it did. It's still showing. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do at this point is we're going to insert the SD card into the Raspberry Pi, make sure it's connected to power, Ethernet, and a webcam. Okay, so I just got the SD card put into the Raspberry Pi. It's connected to power, it's booting up as we speak. Basically what we're going to do at this point is we're going to locate the Raspberry Pi on the network, so that way we can connect to it through a web browser. One of the easiest ways to do that, we're going to use a program called nmap. If you don't have it, you can run this command to get it. Me, I already have it, so this is what I see. If I didn't have it, you would be asked to acknowledge, or to, if you want to continue with the install, if you want to cancel it. But once it's installed, you'll use this command. A couple of things I want to point out. Basically, this command is going to search for any devices that fall within this particular subset of local IP addresses. Specifically, we're going to retrieve the status of port 80 on each of those connected devices. The reason port 80 is because Motion Eye sends its video feed using port 80, and that's what you use to access web pages. So go ahead and run that. Shouldn't take too long at all. Okay, so we can see basically what we're going to want to look for is for a device that has an open port 80. So that one's closed, this is closed, this one's open. If you have a lot of connected devices, you'll want to look for all the open ones, and then you might have to, you'll see this one is also open, but this is going to be my router's gateway address, and we don't need that at this point. So it's pretty safe to say that this is going to be the Raspberry Pi. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and enter that address in any web browser. And when we do that, you should see the general user interface for the Motion Pi. First time logging in, it's going to log you in as just a spectator. Obviously, we're going to want to change that. So click on this. Default login is admin, no password. One of the first things you're going to want to do is update that. That's going to be a security risk. Here you can set your admin username and the surveillance username. Admin is just basically going to have access to all of the settings, whereas the surveillance username can only spectate, they can only see what's being recorded. Some other things, if we toggle advanced settings, we'll get access to quite a few things. One of them will be if you want to set it up to work wirelessly. That can be extremely convenient, and I'll go ahead and set that up just so I can show you the process. Let's see. Okay, I would recommend configuring a static IP. Benefit of that would be you know that every single time you enter 10.0.0.181, you're going to get access to your camera's feed. Otherwise, you could run the risk of your router assigning a different IP address. You go to enter in the 181, it doesn't pull anything up, and then you gotta go searching for it again, and that can be kind of a pain. Default gateway is going to be your router's IP address. If we go back here, I showed you that this was mine, and however yours might actually be 192.168.1.1, but in this case that is not. Let's see, there's quite a few things that you can adjust. You can change the name of the camera. Let's see, change the video resolution. So if we want, we could put it up to HD. We could up the frame rate to 30. By default it's 2, and that's not particularly helpful in any situation. Video streaming, I turn off. Motion detection, I turn off because it really kills frames per second. I do turn still images on. I set it for interval snapshots at 30 seconds. So it takes one photo every 30 seconds. And then I'll set that to where it keeps it on the SD card for up to a week before it deletes it. And yeah, that all looks good. Services, you can enable file transfer protocol servers. That's helpful for if you want to extract, still images from the SD card. You can do it remotely, so that can be helpful. For now, I'm just going to turn them all off because I don't have a need for them. And it looks like we're good to go, so I'm going to go ahead and apply that. It's going to reboot the system. Shouldn't take too long. I'll go ahead and close out of terminal 2. And then once it reboots, you could then, at that point, you could remove the Ethernet cable if you're using a Wi-Fi adapter, and you could place it wherever you want, and then you're good to go. So, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it gets back up. Hopefully it shows a little bit better quality. It's dark out right now, so not much to see. And of course, this entire tutorial is based on if you're running Linux as your primary operating system. The process is nearly identical with Windows, and if anything, it's probably a lot easier just because you're dealing with programs that have a graphical user interface instead of terminal. So, and if I get enough requests for it, I'll upload a Windows version for this tutorial. And again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section. I'll answer anything that I can. Okay, here we go. So if we try logging in with the admin no password like it was originally, we'll see that it won't let us. But if we sign in with the password that we set, we will have access. So you can see it's a little bit more clear. If you click on the image, it will show you what frames per second you're getting. So we're getting 20 at 720p, not too bad, but there's also not a lot of frame updates, so gotta take that into consideration. Another thing I'd like to note is the web feed is available through port 80, and you can access that with any web browser. So if you want to, type in the address of the Pi on your phone, your tablet, computer, whatever it is, you could do so. And then that's really it. I guess the only other thing I'll change is the host name, because that looks a little tacky. And you can check for software updates. You can create backups. Creating a backup will just basically put it into an archive, and you can save that. You can check to see if it's up to date. No, I have to apply this first. But yeah, you can check for updates. You can shut the Pi down. You can reboot it. Really handy, helpful tool. You can even have several Raspberry Pis, and you can configure them by adding a camera here. So that way you can have multiple panes all available to you. So yeah, if you have any questions, ask in the comment section. I'll leave a link to the GitHub source that I used to download the image. I'll also include a list of the commands that were used and what they're used for, so that way you can refer back to that at any point. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't like it, dislike it, that's cool. And I'll see you guys later.